All right, back again here on the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 162. And I gotta say, I know we're the Sort of Sports Podcast here. We have not talked about sports in a long while. And I mean, you've seen the episode title of this. You know, once again, we are not talking about sports. So do not fret if you're someone who listens to this because you enjoy my sports takes. First of all, thank you. Second of all, we're very close to the NFL season, and once that comes, the majority of all episodes are going to be NFL based. I mean, sure, I'm going to do some movie reviews. We have the Sort of Sporties coming up in January. I don't know why I acted like that was soon, but we're going to be heavy sports once that happens. Start of the NBA predictions. And you guys know I enjoy the MLB, but I just have trouble with weekly MLB talk. Like, I just don't have enough MLB thoughts to, and I mean, many people do. Talking baseball is excellent. Anything John Boy Media does is excellent. They obviously have things every week they can talk about on their podcast about baseball, and I'm just not wired like that. Like, I like baseball. I'm not that, like, baseball out of the main three at this point in my life is very clearly third, even though I like it a lot. I just have the least interest in discussing it in this format as far as like the weekly stuff. Once playoffs come around, obviously we talk about it, and then we, run down every round of the playoffs. That's always fun, but, that's just the way it's currently set up. And that could change over time, but I did have a friend of mine say, like, you should do more baseball. And it's like, I genuinely don't have enough thoughts to talk baseball every week. Yeah, I don't feel like doing like a check-in or anything. Like, I don't know. It's just not the way. I don't know, we've never done it that way, and I'm not at the point that's the way I feel like doing it. But that's enough talk. Let's get to actually what this episode's about. And that is Batman. That's what it's about. It's Batman. Because I've been thinking a lot about Batman lately. I've been thinking about old Bruce Wayne. I've been thinking about the Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, the Brave and the Bold. I was trying to think of what the other. I was like, there's one more, right? There's another. I was trying to think of what the other one was. You just had to run through Batman cartoons in my mind. I was like, there's another. The animated. Oh, wait, that doesn't work. But I was thinking about Batman because coming off Superman and then going to see Fantastic Four 2 weeks after, it was a lot of good stuff. Out of those two. And it's got me really thinking about different superhero things. And when I was at, like 2 days. No, I think it was like a week. Yeah, it was like a week. Like a week before seeing Fantastic Four, I was in a Books A Million, which I actually prefer Books A Million over Barnes & Noble. I don't know if that's a hot take. I just think they have more, in my opinion. Like, they just have more books. I mean, they literally are called Books A Million. Barnes & Noble, I don't see a number there. Okay? And Barnes & Noble is very nice. Don't get me wrong. This is like really nitpicky. But I do prefer Books A Million. I think they have a wider selection. Or at least they do for comic books. So maybe that's why, maybe that's why I'm saying that. Well, I mean, because like most of the books I read are not hard to find. Like, I was reading Tale of Two Cities. Most bookstores have that, right? Like, that's the type of books I read. And then I read like some Stephen King. I mean, you guys know, I read off what I read every year at the Sort of Sporties. Like, you guys know what I read. And then Elmer Leonard, my guy, my favorite. And then, most bookstores don't have much of him anyway. Like, I was shocked going to Barnes & Noble, they had 4 books by him. And I was like, whoa, like, that was a lot. They have every Stephen King book ever existing. And then they have 4 out of the 80 Elmer Leonard books. But it's whatever. Just my goat doesn't get enough respect, but it's fine. Anyways, I was in Barnes & Noble. And they had a really nice display that was a lot of DC compacts. I think I've talked about DC compact comics before. They're $10, little compact, like the size of like a paperback book. And their DC has selected a lot of their most famous stories. Like, there's books that they're releasing now that I'm like, I bought that like 5 years ago because I was like, oh, this is one of the best DC stories, like The Long Halloween, right? Like, I bought that years ago, being like, I need to read this. This is like one of, if not the definitive Batman story. And so I bought that, and it's like, boom, it's going to be in a compact now. So, like, a book I got for, I think $30 at Christmas one time. I'm assuming it was 30, I don't know, but I got it for Christmas. But whatever, right? Now it's in a $10 compact form. So it's really cool. Like, the New Frontier I always planned on reading, and now, that book is in a compact, which is cool. So they've been selecting a lot of their biggest stories, a lot of their most famous runs, and a lot of quality stuff for people to come out and read. Marvel's doing a similar thing. I forget what their version's called, but there's less of them. There's like a Daredevil one, there's a Fantastic Four one. I might get the Fantastic Four one at some point. But it's like an excerpt of different Jonathan Hickman runs. Like, I think it might be, I don't know if it's scattered or if it's just one set, but at some point I'll probably just read the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four run. Right. I don't know. That was kind of my plan at some point. But this is a very long-winded way to say I bought Superman and Batman by Jeff Loeb. I mentioned this, I think, in the previous pod. And I finished it the other day, and right after that, just busted out my copy of Scott Snyder's Batman and just started reading up Court of Owls and read all Court of Owls. And I was very aware of Court of Owls before. I had read the Wikipedia on it when I was younger and listened to the Comics Explained video. And then I bought the comics, and I never read the comics. Like, I knew the story, I just never read them. Well, I was at the point where, like, I still remember the premise, but I couldn't exactly, piece together, the whole story. If that makes sense. Like, I knew the basic idea, but I couldn't tell you all that happened. So I read that. I spent like 3 hours yesterday just reading Batman comics. And as I'm reading it, Court of Owls is excellent if you have any interest. Like, awesome. I adore it. It's so good. So I'm reading this, right? And I'm like, first of all, like, damn, because it's good. Second of all, it's funny because I always consider myself a Superman. I like Superman more than Batman. But then you read some good Batman stuff and you're like, ugh, maybe I do like Batman more. it's like when I watch the animated series, I feel the same way. We're like, yeah, Superman the animated series is really good, but you know what else is really good? Batman the animated series. So I was reading that yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was thinking about what I was going to cut the pot on this week, and the number one thing I want to talk about was Batman. So I thought, you know what? Let's go in here and let's discuss the DCU Batman and what I would like to see. Because, first of all, we have Robert Pattinson's Batman Part 2, coming out in 2027. I think it's October or November in 2027. Either way, could not be more excited for that. That is like, 2026, movies I'm really excited for are like Clayface I'm really pumped for, Supergirl I'm really pumped for, Odyssey I'm very excited for. If Glenn Powell makes anything next year, I'll be interested. Dune Part 3. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic about Doomsday. Cautiously optimistic on that. And then the big one that I am most excited for is probably Spider-Man Brand New Day. We're getting some set pictures of that. The suit looks like the best live-action Spider-Man suit. I love the Tom Holland Spider-Mans. I think they're all really good. I love all of them. I mean, if you said my favorite Spider-Man movies, it's Tobey Maguire's 2 and those 3. Spider-Man 3 of Tobey Maguire does not beat out any of the Hollands for me. Like, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, and I love the Tobey Maguire ones. And, I'm super pumped for Brand New Day. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm very excited by that. But then 2027, it's Batman time. So, the Batman for Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman movie. I mean, if you like any of the Nolans more, I get it. But as far as for what I want from Batman, he nailed it. Like, Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson killed the Batman. Well, actually, they didn't kill him. He's fully alive, and he's doing well. It's really good. And I do have a theory, and this isn't what this pod's about. We're going to talk about the DCU Batman, because they're going to be separate universes. But I do want to say, I think what Matt Reeves is going to do with Batman Part 2, and granted, this is just shot in the dark, truly, I think he's going to do Court of Owls and Hush as one story. I think they would pair together very well. I think you can take elements of both, put them together, and it would be a really cool inversion of the first movie, because the Batman from 2022 is very much a story about how the city views Batman, right? It's all about him going from this symbol of vengeance to this symbol of hope, right? Okay, so then in Batman Part 2, you could have Bruce Wayne kind of trying to rebuild Gotham. Now it's about Bruce Wayne and how the city views him and what he represents, right? And those two stories, Court of Owls and Hush, are really interesting to, put into that. Now, the villains are tied to Bruce. Get what I mean? Like the Court of Owls and their relationship with the Waynes, whether they make it that the Waynes weren't involved, like in the Scott Snyder comics, and that were against the Court of Owls, or maybe Matt Reeves is going to make it a twist and make it that the Waynes were in the Court of Owls, or something like that. And then, obviously, I don't got to explain the Hush connection to Bruce Wayne. So I think that would be really cool to see, and so that's what I'm hoping for Batman Part 2. Now, granted, if he doesn't do that, I'm sure it's gonna be excellent. But I just thought of that the other day when reading Court of Owls. I was like, this would pair so well together, and it would make for an incredible Batman, and it would make for an incredible sequel to the Batman, and I think it would be a really neat inversion of the first one's themes. So I just thought that was cool. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, because first of all, Hush is in a compact, and so is Court of Owls. They're both like $10. So if you have any interest in reading those, go check those out. I'm not paid by DC, but I am saying if you have interest, it's pretty cheap now. So also, I'm sure you could like digitally. I don't read comics digitally because it's just not my thing. Like I like having the paper, but I'm sure you could like digitally find a website that has it all for free. So if you're really intrigued, you could look into that. But Batman Hush and Batman Court of Owls, both like $10 compacts. You know, it's 2 meals at Cane's. Just spend that on some Batman comics. Read some good stuff if you want. Okay. So with that, let's shift into the DCU Batman, because the DCU Batman is going to be a separate universe from Robert Pattinson. There was a period there I thought they were going to be together. I think James Gunn was lying to us. And now he seems very sure of the fact that in 2028 we're going to be getting Brave and Bold, which means we're probably going to have Batman cast within the next 6 months to a year, probably. And I guess we're going to talk about casting for the next Batman for the DCU. I see this like Brandon Skellar guy. Is that how you pronounce it? Either way. The guy that I think is pretty interesting is Nate Mann, because DC has consistently, with this new DCU, been casting like kind of smaller names, people that aren't like big deals. You look at the cast of Superman, David Cornswet was not a massive deal before that. Neither was Rachel Brosnahan. Like they're both known, but they're not like A-list stars. And I think James Gunn is going to continue that with his Batman. And Nate Mann just looks like Batman. Like, look at him. Look him up. He looks like Batman. Like that looks like Bruce Wayne. And so I think he could be a really fun choice. He's been in Masters of the Air, and he was in Licorice Pizza. That's like his 2 biggest credits. And both of those, he was not a leading role. So this is like a newer guy, doesn't have a lot of experience. So I think out of the people I'm seeing, he'd be great. Because there was talks about Alan Ritchson, which I would like, but I just don't think that's the way DC is going to go. I think they're once again going to go for like a smaller actor and make them a star, which I really like, because that's what the early MCU would do. They would take smaller actors and turn them into stars and make them A-listers. And I really liked that. And I think DC is doing that now. And I like that model. I think it's fun to use these movies to create stars instead of getting stars to be in these movies. Because you can put stars in these movies, don't get me wrong, but it's honestly more interesting if they're a villain. Like the biggest name in Superman is Nicholas Hoult, and he's Lex Luthor. And I think that's really fun when the biggest name in these superhero movies are like a side character or the villain, and like your main character, like your main hero is somebody that's like, boom, this is your platform to become a star. Because we did that with Chris Hemsworth. We kind of revived Robert Downey Jr.'s career. Chris Evans was like more of like a side character and stuff. Like he was in some stuff, but Captain America really made him a big deal. I really like Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy. That made him like boom. Like he did Lego Movie, which was great voice work. Turned around in Guardians of the Galaxy, and the next year had Jurassic World. Like that made Chris Pratt like boom. And I really like when these movies can do that. And so Nate Mann, I think, would be a great choice for Batman. Nothing against that Brandon guy, but I just think Nate Mann looks like Bruce Wayne. Granted, like I said, I haven't seen him in anything, but I've seen some buzz about him being Batman, and I'm like, hell yeah, that looks sweet. So now we know. So like, what do we know about DCU Batman? What are they planning? Well, it's going to be called The Brave and the Bold, which I think is fun because we've done The Dark Knight. We've had, like I'm saying, if we're using names of Batman, we haven't used, right? We've already used Batman. We did it for Batman 89, and now we have The Batman with Pattinson. So like, you're not going to just call it Batman, right? We've done The Dark Knight. Like that name has been tied to something else now. And so really you're down to Brave the Bold and Cape Crusader. And I think Cape Crusader is the weakest of like the nicknames for Batman, in my opinion. I think it worked for the Amazon Prime cartoon they made, which was pretty good. But like, it also was just kind of like the animated series again, but like not as good, but still good. So I was kind of like, what's the point? Why don't we just do like a Wonder Woman animated series? Whatever. It was good, but it's just like, really, do we need this? Anyways. Um, so I think Brave and the Bold is a good selection for the title. I like that. But we know that they're going to be taking a lot of inspiration from Grant Morrison's run on Batman, which makes a lot of sense because they're using. I'm saying the reason we know this is because they're going to be bringing in Damian Wayne. For those of you that don't know, that is Batman's son with Talia al Ghul. So he usually comes in. I think I want to say around 10 or 11 ish range age wise. He comes in. He's been trained by the League of Assassins since he was a little boy. He's an exceptional fighter. He comes in and he's kind of a little shit, and kind of I'm gonna kill people. And Batman's like, let's not do that. And so they kind of now they've gotten to the point where Damian Wayne has been he's now become more of a mainstay character in the Batman mythos. But this is going to be the first time the general audience has seen him. And I must admit, I'm a little sad we're not doing a Tim Drake Robin, because this is probably going to be the first ever good Robin in a movie ever. Adam West Robin's good. I think Burt Ward does a good job. I like that Robin. That is probably the best live action Robin. The best Robin, I guess, in a movie is probably the Lego Batman movie Robin. Because I'm saying it's not Chris O'Donnell. I'm sorry, pal. It's just not. So it's yeah, I guess this is probably going to be the best interpretation of Robin we've seen in live action since the 60s. So that's crazy. But they're doing that story, which means we're off Tim Drake, we're off Jason Todd, and we're off Dick Grayson. And I would like for those characters to all exist. I really like Tim Drake as Robin. I like the character of Dick Grayson more than Tim Drake. But if you're what's your ideal Bat family? It's Tim Drake as Robin, Jason Todd is dead and can come back as the Red Hood, and then Dick Grayson's Nightwing. That's my ideal. Because I love Dick Grayson, but I think him as Nightwing I prefer than him as Robin. But I don't like when Tim Drake's not Robin. I don't think DC's found a good way to use Tim Drake outside of being Robin. I don't think they know what to do with him as an individual, because in my mind he's the best setup to be Batman if Bruce Wayne ever passed away. I think he is the true heir to the throne. I think Dick Grayson, well, he could be Batman if Batman passed, if Bruce Wayne died. Nightwing is his own thing. He is Nightwing. Whereas Tim Drake, I think, should be the next Batman if anything were to happen to Bruce. Wow, I'm getting really deep in the weeds here. This has nothing to do with the movie. You clicked onto this assuming I was going to talk about Batman, and here I am talking about Batman. So, but I'm just saying, if for those of you who don't know, they haven't really figured out what to do with Tim Drake in the comics. I think since he's not Robin anymore, and I just think he was a great Robin. When I was younger, I'd read those old Young Justice comics with him and Impulse and Superboy, and I really liked those, and I really liked Tim Drake's Robin. I just think he's a good Robin. There's nothing more to it other than that. Also, side note, DC is going to be able to print money if they make a Teen Titans live action movie and then they follow it up with a Nightwing movie. Those will be hits. I know they're working on a script for a Teen Titans movie, and that could just be a massive hit for DC, because Teen Titans is one of DC's best properties, and so is Nightwing. And I'm saying both of those, if you give Nightwing an individual movie, Teen Titans movie, those can be massive hits for DC. So I really think sooner rather than later we should get those, and if they're good, those are going to be massive hits for DC. So I'm just saying, they're sitting on a gold mine with the Teen Titans, because people like the Teen Titans. I like the Teen Titans. Most people are very aware of the Teen Titans, and due to the fact of the 2000s cartoon and then Teen Titans Go, people are very aware of these characters and they like these characters, and they will have a massive success once they start making Teen Titans movies. And I think Nightwing solo films could also be really popular, because Nightwing's a great character and DC knows it. So I'm just saying, it's going to be a gold mine for them once they get that fired up. Back to DCU Batman. So I have the Grant Morrison omnibus. When they announced Brave and the Bold and they made it clear they're going to take a lot from that, I bought I didn't buy. I asked for the Grant Morrison omnibus for Christmas, and I got it. And I must admit, I have not read it yet because I'm reading the Scott Snyder Batman run, and I was planning on reading Morrison after, because I think that pairs better, because Morrison's run is more of an older Batman than Snyder's, so that's why I was doing it like that. but I do have, I do know some of the ideas that Morrison does, and so I think when it comes to DCU Batman, my only concern is like, so if we get somebody like a Nate Mann, because why are we looking at somebody younger, right? He already has a kid. Ideally, he's already been through 3 Robins, and this is his 4th. Are we sure we should be looking for a Batman in his 30s? I think it's a really fair point. But I want him to be the same age as Superman. That's just the truth. Because you want Batman to be the same age as Superman for world's finest purposes, right? Because let's be real, that's what I really want. I want a really good world's finest movie. That's what I'm looking forward to down the line. And I think Batman and Superman, while it could work with an older Batman, I would just prefer for them to be similar ages. And I think if you made him like 35, which I think this Superman is 30 or 32, it's like he's like a little earlier, that's fine. They're still similar enough in ages that they can be contemporaries. And that's what I want. I just want them to be very similar. But if you make him 35, and Damian Wayne could be like 12, 13, and that could work, right? It could be reasonable that Bruce started being Batman in like around 20, like 1920 range. He got Dick, like Grayson, within like the first few years. Then he left, became Nightwing. Maybe by the time he was like 25, he has Jason Todd. Then Jason Todd dies when he's like 26 or 27. Then Tim Drake comes in around like, you gotta take a couple years off, right? Tim Drake comes in, he's like 29, 30, 31, 32, somewhere, Tim Drake steps away around like 33, 34 age, and then Damian Wayne comes along. That could be the way you do it. It gives you like 15 years of Batman to play with. Because that's kind of the thing with, I think, Scott Snyder's Batman is, I want to say, when the comic starts with him, he's been Batman for 10 years, but he's had 4 Robins, and so it's like, whoa. And like, that's, I think, not enough time. So we did 15 years of Batman. He's 35. That could work really well, because you want to have the history of the Robins, because I do think with this DCU Batman, I think this is going to be the time they do a live action Under the Red Hood. I really do. I think they've been waiting to have the scenario to do it. I think they wanted to do it with Affleck. And obviously that all fell apart. And I think now, I do think they want to do it. I think DC knows it could be a very successful movie for them. And I don't know if it's movie 1. It's probably movie 2 for the DCU Batman. I think it works better as a second movie than a first. First movie is him and Damian kind of working through their relationship with a bigger villain. I would like to see like Mr. Freeze. I want to see a villain that we wouldn't see in the Matt Reeves stuff. So like Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, like, you know what I mean? A little more like, the word fantastical has been thrown around a lot about what people want to see from this DCU Batman. And I want to say it was interesting because I also agree, right? Like, I've thrown that word around too and said, like, I'd love to see a fantastical Batman. But James Gunn did an interview where he's like, yeah, we're not going to do like bright colors Batman like the way some people were saying they wanted. He's like, we're still going to be darker. And I think it could still really work. And I think it could still be different than Pattinson. Because I think about Batman the Animated Series and Arkham. While Batman the Animated Series does have some fun moments, I would say more so in the Justice League show, it gets a little more like bright and colorful. Both of those shows are still dark shows. Sorry. Both Batman the Animated Series and the Arkham series are darker. I mean, Batman the Animated Series, literally one of the big pieces is that they drew everything on like a black canvas, you know, to naturally make things in the shadows. And like the Arkham series is not bright and colorful. Like, it is very much a darker series, but you're still able to do like Poison Ivy, Man-Bat, Mr. Freeze, Clayface, like those type of more like Killer Croc, like those villains are still in the Arkham series, and it fits. And I think if I'm James Gunn and I'm DC, for the DCU Batman, we need to pull from the Arkham series, and we need to pull from Batman the Animated Series. Those are the two things I'm taking the most vibes from for the DCU Batman, because I think the most perfect interpretations of Batman are those two things. They're spot on in my mind. So that's what I would take from if I'm James Gunn in the DCU, because I think it's the perfect thing to pull from and get those vibes. And I think it'll be more fun to pair Superman with Batman and World's Finest if he's not like as bright and colorful as Superman. Because then the yin and yang of it, the contrast isn't there. You have to have him be darker, right? And so I think there's a way to do Batman darker and still the Batman people like, while also making him fight these more fantastical villains. And it'll also separate you from the Pattinson stuff, because I think the Pattinson stuff is going to maintain very grounded. It's going to be like a crime, series, the way Reeves is building it. He's probably going to do Joker, Court of Owls, Hush, like I said. I don't think we're going to see Mr. Freeze. I don't think we're going to see Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Man Bat. I'm trying to think of like other... Like Hugo Strange could work for what he's trying to do with Pattinson. That could really work. I think for DCU Batman, we should go for these like larger... Like Two-Face could also work for Pattinson. Your grounded, somewhat more grounded villains. And if I'm looking over at like DCU Batman, I'm like, okay, are we even gonna like let's not even do Penguin, right? Like let's say him at Penguin. And if we're gonna do Penguin, let's do Top Hat has like little penguin bots. Like let's do more comic booky stuff, because I think that would be really fun. Like do it like Batman the Animated Series, do it like Batman Arkham. That's what I would pull from for this. As far as movie one, like I don't have like a full pitch planned out. This is just like little things, like I said, that I would like to see. But I think movie one would work really well if you did like Mr. Freeze, or like somebody like saying a villain that we haven't seen in a while, Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy. I think they could pair together well. But the problem is, we did that in Batman and Robin, and that movie is bad. So maybe they wouldn't want to do that. But I get that completely. But I think movie two, you probably introduce the Joker through some sort of flashback, because we're doing Under the Red Hood. That would be great for movie two. And then you probably wrap it up, if you're doing a trilogy, with Joker. Now, granted, you could just do Joker in the first one. You could. But I'm willing to bet Pattinson's third movie is going to be the Joker. So then you got, like, you're starting out with the Joker and the Brave and the Bold, and then a few years later you get a Pattinson movie that's the wrap-up of his trilogy with the Joker. You get what I'm saying? I just don't see it. I don't. I think it's a lot. Yeah, I guess you could do Red Hood as the first. But I think it's a lot. I do think that's a lot. To introduce Damian Wayne and do Under the Red Hood at the, like, you know what I mean? Like, that. Like, I think it's kind of a lot. But you could attempt it if you really wanted to. But I think that would just be really exciting for the DCU Batman. And I think it's interesting that we're getting a Clayface movie before we get Batman. And I think that would be the perfect time to unveil Batman. Just a cameo at the end, right? Like, maybe it's just him in shadow and you see the eyes. And he is watching, like, maybe Clayface at the end, just gets wrapped up by a rope, and the movie ends with Clayface being captured by Batman. You just see Batman, boom, end of movie. That would be the most awesome introduction to Batman we've ever seen on film. Somebody, like, tweeted out the image from Clayface. I think it's called, like, One Bad Day or something like that, where it's just, like, the end where Batman captures him. That would be like a pretty sweet ending to the Clayface movie. And I think they got to be aware of that. That if you ended the Clayface movie with Batman, like, boom, that would be cool. Be really cool. And then that would get people really excited to see the Brave and the Bold movie, even though, you have Pattinson coming out the next year. Because now we've seen this Batman, we want to see more of him, as opposed to, oh, by the way, there's going to be a Batman movie coming out next year, and it's not the sequel to the movie you just watched in Batman Part 2. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would really like to see that. So that's what I'm hoping for, is him to show up in Clayface. That would be a really cool debut. Now, as far as suit goes, I really think it's important. I want to do blue I think a blue suit would be cool. Not like blue, like a blue Batman suit. I'm saying like blue cowl, blue cape, gray suit, yellow bat symbol. And you might be thinking, oh, that once again, that's goofy. That can't be the dark. The 70s Batman comics were still doing more of the gothic stuff and still doing some darker stuff with that suit. Right? Like, Dennis O'Neil was writing Batman at that time, and he wasn't playing around. And he was in a suit like that. So we can do that, and it can work. And then it immediately separates him from the Pattinson version, because we're not doing grays and blacks, right? We're doing blue. Kind of like early Batman the Animated Series suit. That's what I'm looking for. Because I think it's actually black, but it has like shades of blue in the shadows. I think is actually the way the Batman the Animated Series suit works. And let's pull from that, because I think that would be really cool. So that's what I would like to see as far as suit goes. I've already said Nate Mann would be my casting. I think that'd be fun. Nightwing should show up at some point. He is needed. If we're doing Bat Family, I want Nightwing. Like I said, I think Under the Red Hood would be a great movie. I would like for them to figure out what to do with Tim Drake. It'd be great if he showed up. I don't want them to just act like he doesn't exist. That would be sad. Batgirl, yeah. Barbara Gordon. Make her Batgirl. You could do her as Oracle. You could introduce her as Oracle. That could also work. And then the general audience is like, oh, this is Barbara Gordon. I think she was Batgirl in a movie. And the comic book readers are like, because that means obviously the Killing Joke has happened. So that could be interesting if you introduced her as Oracle. That'd be fun. But I'm trying to think. Is that it? Is that everything I wanted to say? I felt like I had more to say than that. But I mean, full disclosure, I haven't sat down and thought about like each movie what I'd like to see. This was more so just some ideas that I thought would be fun. Like I said, World's Finest is what I'm dying to see. I think we could get a great World's Finest movie. I was just reading Jeff Loeb's Superman and Batman comic, like I said before. I was reading the Public Enemies arc. Whew! Heat. Like, just straight heat. And I thought James Gunn's next movie after Superman, he kept saying it wasn't a true sequel. I thought for sure it was World's Finest. He said it's not. Apparently it's not. Fine. But once we have Batman and Superman in this universe, we need a World's Finest movie. I actually want a World's Finest movie more than I want a new Justice League movie. I think World's Finest could be like $1 billion smash hit for DC. And I would like to see it after the first Batman movie. I think it's weird to do it as, like, before, that's your introduction to Batman. If you introduce Batman just, like, at the last scene of Clayface, that would just be so cool. I would love to see that. It's what I want. Like, I'm like, come on. It's also interesting, I want to throw this in as a side note. So DC said their goal every year is to have 2 live-action films, 2 live-action shows, and then some animated stuff or whatever, right? No, maybe it was 1 live-action show and 2 animated. Regardless, the key piece is 2 live-action films a year. Well, in 2027, we already know one of them will be Batman Part 2. Even though it's Elseworlds and it's not in the greater DCU, it's still, you get, like, you know what I mean? It's still a movie that DC will be releasing, so they're probably not going to make 2 other movies that year. They're probably just going to make 1. So I do wonder what it is. I wonder if that's going to be Sergeant Rock that year, which looks like it might have, like, the JSA in it, which would be cool if we did Justice Society of America and that. That'd be pretty dope. Having the older heroes, I'll fight alongside him. I don't know if they could get Swamp Thing going that fast. I don't know. Just interesting. I thought of that the other day. I was like, oh, we're only going to get, like, 1, you know what I mean? Peacemaker comes out in, like, 2 weeks, so that's pretty exciting. And like I said, NFL season will be starting up very soon. And so hopefully you enjoyed just me kind of rambling on about Batman. Because I felt like I had a lot of thoughts on Batman and what I would have liked to see for the Bat. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say. So I'm really excited for this DCU Batman. I still remember going to see the Pattinson one in theaters, and I just think doing a very different. Like I've said it before. There's two Batman movies I always wanted to see. One was a detective movie. The other one was like more of, a little bit brighter, more like kind of like the Arkham games in live action, honestly. Like that's kind of what I wanted to see. And we've got the one. We got the pure detective Batman. Now can we get like the Arkham series, Batman the Animated Series vibe Batman to the big screen? And I think James Gunn clearly is taking a lot of inspiration from the animated series stuff, like the Justice League Unlimited, Justice League show, Superman the Animated Series. He's clearly taking a lot of inspiration from that. And I think he should do the same thing for his Batman film. And yeah, really excited. So, Andy Muschietti is still the director of DCU Batman. I haven't touched on that. People like it from 2017. I don't know if people like it part 2, but people liked the first one. That is, like, I have no interest, like, at all. I don't like horror movies, so. And then, like, I guess the Batman stuff in The Flash was pretty good, I guess. I don't know. The Flash is so bad that it's like, I did have someone tell me that was their favorite part of The Flash. They're like, man, I just love Michael Keaton in it. Oh, so great. And so, like, maybe he can nail it. I hope so. I hope he just absolutely kills it. Because it looks like he is going to be the director of this. Unless they just all of a sudden come out and they're like, it's Ryan Coogler, baby, let's go. Like, that would be pretty cool if it ended up being Ryan Coogler. Because, like, that'd be sick. So, okay. All right, I think that's it from me. Looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out in 11 months. So it'll be dope. I mean, it'll be here before we even know it. So don't wish the time away though, because I've been having a good time right now. So, but I am excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. I didn't talk much Spider-Man. You guys know Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, but the thing is with Spider-Man, it's like out of the big three, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, in the last like 15 years, Spider-Man has consistently just had great stuff. Like, just great stuff. I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are that great, I must say. And, like, the Ultimate Spider-Man show is pretty good. I guess I should say 10 years. Within the last, 10 years, Spider-Man fans have been treated to great stuff. Like, I love the Tom Holland movies. We got Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Man Insomniac games, the TV show, like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Come on. Like, Spider-Man fans have been treated damn good over the last 10 years. Like, they've been having some good stuff. Like, really good stuff. And Superman has not had a good 10 years. Superman hasn't had a lot of good stuff since the 90s. Right? Am I wrong? I guess the 2000s. I'll say the 2000s. You know what? I'll say the 2000s. Post New 52, Superman stuff was rough. I'm not talking comics, I'm just talking about broader media stuff. Now, that is the thing, is I do know, I haven't read a Spider-Man comic written past, 2005 in my life. I've never heard very good things about, actually after Brand New Day, oddly enough, in the comics, that I know things went, downhill. Spider Island's a cool concept. I don't know if that comic's any good, but it's a cool idea. And then, they introduced Miles, and obviously that works, because, he's become very popular. But I just gotta say, out of the big three, Spider-Man's been rolling. He's been doing very well for himself. Batman, had a kick-ass late 2000s, early 2010s. And then, really since the Arkham series ended, and we got into the DCEU, it was not as good. And then now we're back on track with Batman stuff, in my opinion. So, okay. It's just funny. Those are the big three, and they've both had they've all had very different last 10 years. Last 10 years, we've been trying to fix Superman. Batman's been hit or miss, and Spider-Man's just been on a tear. Absolute tear. And I think Brand New Day is going to be another hit for him. So, props, Spider-Man. Props, Spider-Man. Okay. That's it for me. I'm surprised this went 40 minutes. I had a lot of thoughts apparently. So, okay, that's it. Very excited for the Pattinson movie. I'm actually probably more excited for the Pattinson movie than I am for the DCU. But the DCU one is so wide open right now. We barely know anything about it. So that's why I was able to cut a whole pot about my thoughts. But that's it. I will see you all again, and hopefully you enjoyed this, even though it was very different. So if you enjoyed it, thank you.